They called it the feel-good movie of the decade. A homeless black teenager, rescued by a privileged white family, is on his way to becoming an NFL superstar against all odds. But what if the actual Michael Oher didn't need rescuing? What if Hollywood's go-to true story was built on a lie that made millions for all? But the man whose life it claimed to celebrate? In 2023, the off-screen scandal of The Blind Side at last blew into the public domain, with claims of dishonesty, exploitation, and a breathtaking court settlement that demolishes everything we assumed we knew. Welcome here at Now and Then Cinema, where we expose what went on behind the scenes once the cameras stopped rolling. Today, how the inspirational story of The Blind Side covered up a 14-year secret, which is now tearing it all apart. We're going in-depth today on one of the largest true story scandals in recent Hollywood history. The Blind Side was not just a hit at the box office, it was a cultural sensation that earned Sandra Bullock an Oscar and convinced America that it knew Michael Oher's story. But the blockbuster suit of last year reveals there is perhaps nothing more pretentious than a Hollywood true story. So pop your popcorn. This is one off-camera soap opera you won't see in the DVD extras. Flash forward to 2009. The Blind Side comes out in theaters and immediately touches hearts around the world. On a shoestring $29 million budget, it made over $300 million at the box office worldwide, one of the highest-grossing sports dramas ever made. The film was well received by critics, with Sandra Bullock starring as the no-nonsense Southern mother, Lee Ann Tuohy, who takes in Michael Oher, a homeless teenager, and helps him from there to become NFL prospect material. The role is Bullock's first and only Oscar. The film provided the perfect formula for movies that uplift: an underdog tale, a successful white family giving back to someone less fortunate than themselves, and a warm ending in which everyone is a winner. It was the American dream served up in a neat 2-hour package that had the audience grabbing for box tissues and driving home good for humankind. What made it all the more impactful? Those magic words at the beginning, based on a true story. But as cinema-goers were falling for this tearjerker, the actual Michael Oher was already uncomfortable with the way his life was being exaggerated. The real Michael Oher. The screen Michael Oher appeared as an all-but-mute, gentle giant who barely grasped the significance of family or football until the Tuohys stepped into his life. But in real life, nothing could have been more disparate. Michael Oher was born in Memphis, Tennessee. He was one of 12 children of parents both struggling with poverty and his mother's addiction. Yes, he did have a horrid lot, with times being homeless and oscillating between foster care. But unlike in the movie, Oher was not a hapless, clueless teenager. When he arrived at the Tuohys' doorstep, he was already one of the country's most prized high school football prospects. Coaches already knew about his incredible talent several years ago. And in school? Although he had struggled with his grades, he had been making a conscious effort to reverse them many years before meeting the Tuohy family. The suggestion of the film that he hardly knew fundamentals was, in Oher's own opinion, deeply insulting. "People judge me and they take things away from me because of a movie," Oher wrote in his 2011 memoir, "I Beat the Odds. They don't see the skills and the kind of player I am." Oher would continue to play 8 seasons in the NFL, including winning a Super Bowl championship with the Baltimore Ravens in 2013. But professionally, he was never able to overcome the shadow of the movie character that defined him in the public eye. The bombshell lawsuit. Fast forward to August of 2023, when Michael Oher unexpectedly let loose in a court bombshell that discredited the fiction of The Blind Side forevermore. In his Tennessee court filings, Oher made a blockbuster assertion: the Tuohys never adopted him at all. Take that for it. The emotional hinge of the movie, that Michael officially became an adoptive member of the Tuohy family, was not true. Instead, Oher claimed the Tuohys tricked him into signing a conservatorship agreement at age 18, a legal vehicle typically used for people who cannot make decisions for themselves, such as those with extreme disability or older people suffering from dementia. "They told me it was adoption papers," Oher said in court documents. Under this conservatorship, the Tuohys subsequently gained legal authority to enter into business contracts on Oher's behalf. And, the suit claims, that's exactly what they did. Several months after establishing this conservatorship, there were already negotiations in progress for the rights to Oher's life story. The suit claims the Tuohys used their legal power to negotiate a 20th Century Fox contract that paid them and their biological children $225,000 each and 2.5% of the film's profits. And what did Oher get in return for his cooperation? As his lawsuit puts it, nothing. All this while, the movie has made more than $300 million, and he's gotten how much? His attorney asked reporters. $0. The saddest part? Oher claims that he didn't even find out until February 2023, 14 years after the movie came out, that the conservatorship had actually taken place, when he finally read the actual document he'd signed as a teenager. The Tuohys respond. The Tuohys, represented by their attorneys, give a quite different version. "We're devastated," Sean Tuohy told the Daily Memphian after the lawsuit was filed. "It bothers us to think we would benefit from any of our children. But we're going to love Michael at 37 just like we loved him at 16. Their lawyers contend that all of those who were involved in the movie deal, from Oher, received about $100,000 in total throughout the years, less than the millions that are alleged in the suit. They further argue that the conservatorship was merely an inside-the-legal-curve strategy to help comply with NCAA rules so that Oher could play at Ole Miss, Sean Tuohy's alma mater, and booster. But this response raises questions of its own. Why use a conservatorship instead of becoming his legal guardian? And why did it continue for decades after college? What is certain is that the Tuohys, most notably Lee Ann, built an entire brand off being the Blind Side family. Lee Ann emerged as a motivational speaker with fees ranging from $10,000 to $20,000 per appearance, wrote books, and had TV spots on reality shows, all profiting off her image as the woman who saved Michael Oher. White Savior Narrative. The backlash against the blind side is part of a broader pattern of problems in American culture and Hollywood storytelling. The film is an archetypal example of what critics have called the white savior narrative. Stories in which white heroes rescue people of color from their circumstances. From Green Book to The Help to The Blind Side, these films tend to center around white heroes and diminish the agency, intelligence, and dignity of black characters. As author Roxane Gay has put it, these stories confirm the idea that people of color can't save themselves, that they need to be saved by white folks, that they are incomplete without whiteness's intervention. In The Blind Side, this is evident in scenes such as when Sandra Bullock's character teaches Oher to play football, something that never actually happened in real life, and something that Oher considered to be extremely insulting. The real-life Michael Oher was already an elite-level football prospect when he met the Tuohys. The movie also employs harmful stereotypes, casting Oher as virtually mute and childish, a literal gentle giant with virtually complete absence of agency in his own life. In actuality, coaches and friends described him as thoughtful, driven, and determined. Former NFL player Michael Lewis, who wrote The Blind Side on which the movie is based, later admitted, "What I regret is that the movie led to giving the wrong impression about him. In the movie, They show him as a kid who had to be taught football, and that was unsubstantiated. Public and celebrity reactions. When the news of the lawsuit broke, social media erupted in responses. So you're telling me The Blind Side was white savior propaganda this entire time? Read one trending tweet that got more than 50,000 likes. The responses divided along expected lines. Some stood up for the Tuohys, citing how they did help Oher when he needed them. Others condemned it as a classic case of white exploitation of black talent and narratives. Even the players of the NFL had something to say. Baltimore Ravens lineman Ronnie Stanley tweeted, "Not surprised. Hollywood has been telling our stories wrong for decades." Former NFL linebacker Emmanuel Acho commented on his show, "Michael Oher was never a charity case. He was a star athlete that a family saw value in." Then there was a bizarre backlash against Sandra Bullock. People faulted her for what had transpired, which is absurd. She was an actress playing a role. The backlash was so intense that her co-stars went on record defending her. Quentin Aaron, who played Oher in the film, told TMZ, "Sandra Bullock doesn't owe anyone anything. She earned that Oscar." Tim McGraw, who played Sean Tuohy, added his voice, "Everybody took the movie at face value. No one on the set knew of any legal contracts." Most telling, though, was the lack of response from within the industry itself. Not a peep from the studio, producers, or director. It appeared no one wanted to acknowledge that this feel-good success may have been built upon exploitation. Legal developments. In September 2023, a Tennessee judge ended the conservatorship, a big victory for Oher. But his lawsuit for cash is still ongoing. In February 2024, the judge dismissed some of Oher's lawsuit, including claims that the Tuohys had benefited financially from his name and likeness. But the money aspect of the case continues, with Oher still seeking accounting and damages for profits from the film. The Tuohys defend themselves and say they did nothing wrong. The family's lawyer says that the family had made multiple attempts to end the conservatorship, but Oher would not accept it. They've called his allegations hurtful and absurd. They have treated him like a son and one of their 3 children at all times, said their lawyers. His allegations are outrageous, hurtful, and absurd, and we will deal with them in due course. But regardless of how the case ultimately goes in court, The Blind Side's integrity is forever compromised. A film once widely lauded as a feel-good and inspiring one now bears a lasting asterisk. Hollywood has long benefited from traumatically benefiting off of real people, wrapping their traumas up into feel-good tales and merchandising them. But not very often do the actual subjects have a say in how it impacted them. In Oher's life, he has lived for over a decade in the shadow of a movie version of himself. A version, he insists, with little grounding in reality. "I don't like the movie," he told one interviewer bluntly. "That's not me." The greatest lesson of all? Maybe it's that we should be less gullible when Hollywood heralds a film as based on true events. Because that phrase can define a multifarious number of exaggerations. And maybe we should also ask who has a stake in these inspiring tales, and who might be harmed by them. The Blind Side was a commercial success and made millions, selling us on an underdog tale of overcoming adversity through the kindness of strangers. But Michael Oher's lawsuit suggests the real story might be different. Power, control, and who gets to profit from a black man's life story. As Oher himself put it in an interview after suing, "Don't tell my story if you're going to tell it from a lie. If you're going to tell it, tell the truth." These are words of caution to Hollywood, and to all of us who see these based on a true story movies without questioning whose vision they are depicting. What's your take? Were the Tuohy family assisting Oher, or were they assisting themselves? Does this change how you see the movie? Leave your comments below. If this made you question based on a true story films, hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the real stories behind your favorite movies.